do you have an image of what a confident facilitator looks like in your head? Have you built up your imagination with all of the principles, the ins and outs, the actions, the words, all of that, of what a confident facilitator is supposed to look like, and something that you have in your mind to aim for? Well, if you don't, in today's episode, we're going to go over what that image looks like to me. I'm going to give you just some of the qualities that I think of when I think of a confident facilitator, what that image looks like in my mind, what I've seen other people do, and what I've tried to encapsulate myself when I'm in front of groups. And I'm going to go over that today. And the purpose being, the reason I'm going over it is so that you can then decide and build that image in your own mind. It's very important to have that picture, to have something to aim for, a goal, uh, uh, a status, a symbol, whatever it might be that you can go for when you think about facilitating. Think about stepping in front of a group of people and helping them to an end result. So again, we're going to go over just my thoughts on it, what I picture when I think of a confident facilitator, someone that has maybe a little bit of swagger. They go up there and they don't give me any doubts or impressions that they don't know what they're talking about. And one of the people, just to kind of set the stage, one of the people that I follow and I admire for his presence is Phil M. Jones. And if you haven't heard of Phil M. Jones, he's an author of Exactly What to Say, and all of his YouTube content, or most of his YouTube content out there, is basically focused on a single presentation that he kind of tweaks and gives to multiple groups. But the way that it's executed is so well done. It's not just a speech, it's a facilitated event. Yes, he's giving value. He is doing the dominant part of speaking, but he weaves in this effortless seeming facilitation, and sometimes he even breaks it down for folks. He even tells you exactly what it is that he's doing and why. And I love following that guy and watching his content for that very reason. He gives me an image of fluid, confident facilitation. Another speaker, again, kind of pulling out speakers here, but is Simon Sinek. Everybody knows Simon Sinek's name. If you don't, please go look him up. And he's just authentic. I like Simon because he's authentic. Everything that he talks about, all the topics that he brings up, is just, it comes out of his experience and his knowledge base. You can tell he thinks about it a lot. I think that's, I get a little bit ahead of myself, but I think that's great and necessary in a confident facilitator. So those are a couple of my examples that I want to describe there for you. But let's just get into what I think. So I have 5 of them here today, and these are not ranked or anything, or put in any kind of order. They're what I think of. So number 1 is they answer questions with questions. And if you watch any of my other videos, or as you continue to follow me, hopefully you do, and choose to hit that like and subscribe button, what you're going to find, I push curiosity a lot. I push the role of the facilitator is to be the most curious person in the room at all times. And if you're answering questions with facts, with information and data, it's going to happen, right? And you need to fill in some gaps. But if you're not pushing it back to the group and getting the group to contribute their thoughts, you're doing a disservice. You're not facilitating, then you're speech giving, which again, it can be okay. Just like these videos, I'm giving you information. I'm trying to give you value to go and use for yourself. But in a facilitated event, you're there to help control the boundary and the scope of things. So if you're answering questions instead of putting the question back at them to answer for themselves, or back to the group, their peers in the room or on the Zoom call, you're doing them a disservice. And you're taking away an opportunity for the team to grow together, to form together, and move towards a solution together. So as a facilitator, I look for and I try to answer questions with questions. And that's tough. I think I started with probably the most toughest one that I can think of is how to turn back somebody's question on them to answer for themselves or to others without seeming like a jerk. They're asking you a question, right? So they're expecting an answer. And if you keep, every time they ask you a question, you just keep flipping it back to them, like just flipping it around, it can come across very jerkish, and you don't want that to happen. So there is some timing there. And I would stress to acknowledge that if you're going to do this well, always acknowledge them first. Acknowledge the fact that they did give you a question. Acknowledge the fact that they're expecting you to answer the question. And in that way, it shows that you've received it, you've considered it, and the path that you choose then as the better path is to ask the group or ask that person a question back to them. Don't just reflect it back. Like, you have to consider it. You have to put some work into this, guys. You don't just be a complete mirror. Oh, what do you think about, Chevy trucks? Oh, what do you think about Chevy trucks? That's silly, and that's coming across like a jerk, and you don't want to do that. So enough on number one. It's probably of all these here, it's the one that I have to practice on the most. I miss it often. I have that need and that urge to answer, just kind of being my background, and personally, I want to provide value. I want to give answers, and it's hard. It can be hard, but a person that asks questions back to the group, answers questions with questions effectively, now that's a facilitator that I want to follow and learn from, and that's who I want leading my events. So number two is know when to be kinetic and static. So kinetic is like moving and motion and on the move. And static is you're standing still. Nothing's really moving. Stuff might be going on, but it's not going anywhere or going much to places, or going forward or backward or side to side, whatever. That's kind of definitions of kinetic and static. And what I mean by kinetic and static is twofold. You need to have a physical presence that says you're both. You can be kinetic, you can move about the room and engage different folks and take up space in the room, but you also need to know when to be static, when to hold your ground, when to plant your feet, so to speak, not necessarily metaphorically, but sometimes physically hold your ground and show them you're not changing, you're not moving, you're staying on this topic. And that will also come across in the conversation. So when you need to move forward and when you need to progress the conversation, you're kinetic. You're the propelling force. You're moving people along. You're saying, okay, enough on this, we got to keep moving. Or they just presented something that is great. Somebody had a great idea, a great thought, and you need to delve into that or record it and move on and use that as a catalyst for the next thing. There's also the inverse of that, which is static. If you feel like they're not getting the point, if they're not providing enough answers, if they're not contributing well enough, or maybe you think it's a good topic and they're absolutely necessary and they got to get through this, then you stay static. And that just looks like you physically shouldn't move. And that physicality, that physical staticness will translate into conversation. People will follow that mode of thinking, right? They might get a little antsy. They might show you like, okay, you're ready to move on. You got to respond to that. and move and switch back to kinetic. But number 2 was knowing when to be kinetic and when to be static in both conversation and your physicality. So number 3, I think a confident facilitator, number 3 is that they weave in humor. I love a good humorous facilitator. I don't want to be there to just be talked at, have a super serious tone. No, like I don't think anybody really wants that. There needs to be some amount of humor, some amount of injection of realness and authenticity, and I think that comes through in humor. Plus, the best way to alleviate tense situations, which most likely are occurring if you're leading any amount of lean events or have experience in lean events, there's a lot of tenseness that can occur, and you relieve that by using humor. That's just proven. And I think a confident facilitator is one that weaves the humor in and out of conversation, in and out of dialogue, and just it's like wit. You could call it wit. I call it just general humor, and because I'm not witty, I don't consider myself a witty person, but I do consider myself to have a good sense of humor, and people enjoy being a part of my events and listening to my presentations because I inject that humor and it just feels natural to them. And I've gotten many compliments on that, and it feels great. So, and I know that about myself, but I also see that in other confident facilitators. And maybe that's, again, this is my list, but I highly recommend to you guys to inject humor. Don't do knock jokes, and don't be like purposeful silly stuff that comes across very kiddish and just like, knee jerk or very stop go. It's got to be natural. It's got to feel natural. And sometimes the group, you just need to feed off the group. They will bring in the humor themselves in a lot of cases, and you just need to just use it. They're giving you something. They're giving you a piece that you can then create a unique experience around. And if somebody says something humorous, use that. Maybe reference back to it. Come back to it in the way that, if it comes up again, remember Billy, we're not talking about elephants, or whatever it might be. That seems really weird. But you can use the group's own jokes and own humor injection and make it your own, which then makes it the entire group's. Anyway, but humor is just a great quality for someone that is wanting to be come across as a confident facilitator. So number 4 for me on this list, we're almost done. I got 2 more here for you, is a relaxed posture and relaxed speech. Someone who goes up there and talks quickly, talks really fast and goes through all the facts and just has to get through everything and explains everything in like 2 times speed. That is somebody that is nervous. They come across that way. It's super obvious. You start losing the group, and it's just not good. You want to go up there and almost force yourself, if you know that about yourself, you force yourself to be a little bit slower. Just a little bit slower is all you got to do, and to bring down the tempo, and everybody can stay up to pace on with you, and be relaxed about it. Take deep breaths before you step in front, and pause. We're going to get to that one here in a little, and a related one here in a second as my last note, but if you need to pause. And pausing kind of injects, not necessarily tension. If you wait too long, you'll inject tension. But pausing allows you to take account. It allows them to take account. It makes you seem like you are relaxed. You're confident in the moment in taking that pause. If you're trying to fill all the conversational space, then you also look incompetent and unconfident. So don't try to fill out space. You got to be just relaxed. So the last one here I have for you, number 5, is for a confident facilitator is using silence. And by silence, I mean pausing to allow digestion of an idea, pausing to allow the group to stay with you, and then sometimes silence just because the group is doing well. They're processing an idea, they're communicating across the room from each other or across the virtual space to each other. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to inject anything. You don't need to be a part of the conversation. You can just feel free to listen and absorb. That's one bit of silence is basically active listening without the injection part. The other bit of silencing that I want to point out to you is what I think a confident communicator does is forces the group to keep considering the idea. Don't go up there and fill the space. It's kind of related to the last one. Don't go up there and fill the space. Be silent. Be present. Show them you're there, but don't talk. Look around the room and let them know that there's something they're supposed to be doing. And it creates a huge wave of engagement. They'll be like, oh yeah, well, I guess we do need to own this conversation more. Like, yes, this person is the facilitator, but we're here to learn. We're here to engage. We're here to get as much of it as we can out of whatever it is. If it's a lean event, especially like this, the facilitator is not supposed to come in with their own ideas. They might have some assisting things, but they're there just to help the conversation move forward. So if the group is missing on a mark and the facilitator is silent, they'll catch up. So a confident facilitator will use silence like crazy. And I've used silence in more of a one-on-one type setting just to see what someone does and point out to them or let them know without having to say it, let them know that it's their cue to say something. It's their cue to do something. They're the ones that need to be active right now. So a confidence facilitator reminds the group using silence that they need to step up. They need to do something. And again, that silence piece to allow an idea to marinate, to allow, it's like pausing, right? Silence and pausing, very much the same thing, or very similar rather. But allow a group to catch up with their mental processing, the ideas, the recollections that are going on in their mind. A particular instance might pop in their mind, they're digesting, they're bouncing it off of that past experience. You got to give them a chance to do that, so that then they can be ready to move on. Going back to that kinetic part of the conversation, ready to move on. So a confident facilitator, again, is one that uses silence and pausing, like just with well intentions, good intentions, and good timing. So that's all 5 of my traits of a confident facilitator. And again, I wanted to give that to you guys today because I think it's necessary to, if you don't have it, or maybe it's not working for you, the image that you have of a confident facilitator in your mind, I want to help you guys kind of plant that seed and start building that image, because you need to have it. You need to have an idea and a goal and an aim and an image that you're aiming for and building yourself towards. And that image can change. But for right now, I hope that it stays somewhat stagnant as you catch up with your personal goals and your growth that you're pushing yourself through. So again, that was 5 of my ideas. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Consider subscribing, especially if you're a lean green belt or going through green belt training and you just you're missing that facilitation piece. When I was going through green belt training, the most glaringly obvious thing that was missing was facilitation skills. And it's also one of the biggest aspects of being in green belt is leading events. So if you feel like me and you want a source of learning, I'm happy to provide that for you. And I really hope you found value in this video today. Have an awesome day.